All right, to hell with that music. I want to get it started because kind of found out that we have other plans today I wasn't aware of. Jay Brown and myself are supposed to be on the shills in about 90 minutes or so, 2 hours. I didn't know about that. Maybe I did, I forgot. But anyways, I just learned a few seconds ago that I can only get 6 people in here. I did not know that for StreamYards. So I've got people in the waiting room, and I don't know what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to have to figure out another way to get them in here. In the interim, though, I'll turn it over to Landon to talk about something important, which I have no idea. I will tell him this. It is rum and coke night. I am drinking brandy. It is a nice digestive, correct? Because I just ate. So it is called a digestive. It is E&J brandy. I usually I've had this bottle forever. I use it for coffee. And I literally put it in 1 cupful at most in my coffee. But I am actually drinking it straight right now because it's actually not that bad straight. So we'll be on the shills, slightly probably inebriated in the next 2 hours. But anyways, Landon, welcome, buddy.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on our time zone, latitude, and virus status. And welcome to spring or fall, depending upon your hemisphere.
Spring. Just spring.
Well, this fall down there, but
they don't exist.
So my good friends sent me a nice photo from the South Pole. The sun is set there, and they're going to have 6 months of darkness, and they're virus-free.
They're virus-free.
Having problems.
So is North Korea supposed to be virus-free as well? I don't believe them. Moon for $10 says, no rum and coke, but I have some beer and a plan to watch. Thank you, Moon, very much for that super chat. So how am I going to do this? I know I got Dick Dawson and TD Lane and other people are going to be coming in. I didn't realize it. I don't want to rotate. I kind of wanted to have everybody kind of come in at once, but...
Is it possible that someone could do a Skype thing and become a channel for multiple people?
I have Google Meets if we need it.
I have Google Meets too, but it's such a pain.
Yeah.
I don't like Google Meets. Well, shoot. This kind of sucks, man. Because I don't want to kick everybody out and I want to be able to have multiple people come in. So
Dick Dawson says you can use the shills Google Meets.
No, I have Google Meets, dude. Sense. That's not a problem.
Yeah, it'll make sense if you and Jay Brown are...
Oh, he could come in... Wait, if Dick Dawson comes in with Ted Kennedy on Google Meets as one account, would that work?
Yeah.
Could try that?
Yeah.
Okay. Moon says she has Zoom, and if we have to do that, that's fine too. But anyway,
so I actually have some of the last Coke that you, Steve, made me buy. This is I guess I haven't bought soda like this in maybe 2 decades or so, and so this is my last of the 6-pack that I had, and so I'm gonna have this with some Bacardi rum there. So I will be officially doing a rum and Coke, right? That's my
so actual. Yeah, you got an actual rum and Coke. Oh, now we got SJ coming in. See, now I got all these people that want to join, and I can only. I didn't real. How is it only 6 freaking people that can come in StreamYards? Since when? Since always, Steve. Where have you been?
Yeah.
Really?
It's always been like that.
All right. I guess we're gonna have to switch to Google Meets. So SJ, hang on. Dick Dawson, CD, hang on. I will go to Google Meets somehow.
You do that and move over there. By the way, so someone asked in a chat about this T-shirt. This is a special T-shirt that was made originally made for the people that won the 2013 Nobel Prize in Physics in discovering the accelerating universe. And so the members of the team got the T-shirt, and the King of Sweden, because he gave out the award, and myself, because I did some special services for those folks. So I wear it on special occasions, and so I wanted to honor Steve by wearing my...
Today's a special occasion, being able to drink today, because everybody's nobody's going out, everybody's kind of staying alone and home. And
It's eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow is going to be even more crazy.
Probably. Okay, I'm trying to get into Google Meets here, and it's not letting me. Here, let's try that. Okay.
So what's
Hi,
the
SJ.
proper ratio?
She can't do anything because she's not in the hangout yet, but we're getting on it, working on it. The outside can't see her, but she's down there. She's waiting in the waiting room.
So what's the proper ratio of rum to Coke for a rum and Coke?
That's about right where you have there.
1.5 pour for rum and Coke, so 1.5 ounces to the rest of it in a glass.
So you're saying about 1.5 shots of rum
Yeah,
to a shot like that, glass like this.
well, that's a little big, but
New
yeah,
Orleans.
I would do a 1.5 pour. So that way it's not too bad.
Okay.
Someone said 4 parts rum, 1 power Coke.
Okay, I've got a new
For
link.
one. Okay.
So I'm gonna put the link in here in
For
the
one.
the internal chat.
So that's 4 parts Coke to 1 part rum, or 1 part rum
Yeah.
to 4 parts Coke.
4 part one. Yeah. 4 rum to 1 Coke, yeah.
Why it's not letting me put it in the comment section? Oh, because we're not
So
live.
I'm using this for my shot glass, the Mickey Mouse, since they're closed.
SJ, check your everybody else check your Twitter. I'll give you the link through via DM here, and then I'll bring you guys in. So SJ, there's a link for that. Go to the Google Meets, and I'll get you guys in. And Paul and Jay Brown. And let's see here. Who else we got? Brandon.
On my Twitter.
That's okay. So anybody else I miss? I think I got everybody. Landon, go ahead and transfer over to the Google Meets. I'll give you the link in the.
I'll catch
DM.
you over there.
Yeah.
Is a link in the private chat, or is it on Discord?
It's in your private chat.
All right. Drop it out.
I'm out.
Okay.
All right, I'll see you over on the other link.
All right. So let me see here. Dun, dun.
Okay.
I hear people trying to come in. Ugh. I hear it. I hear them. Like
Yeah.
There we go. Hey.
All right.
All right. We're making progress here.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes. And that, but
Yes.
Indeed.
my thing's all wonky here. I'll fix this in a second, though. But go ahead. Continue. I'm just.
I'm
fixing
I'm
this.
just gonna finish my cigarette off camera.
Oh, okay. Display capture. Let's see. Let's try that. So, display capture, and this should do it.
Oh, I'm seeing things.
You seeing something?
Yeah, saw my icon there.
Yeah.
I see all you
Recognize
guys.
that.
There you go. There we go. That's working. And the link to join is in the description there, so people can come in on their own accord. I am going to move this down just a little bit so it looks better. You can get to see this on the outside there.
You want me to email the link out?
No, because
All right. Okay.
that's okay. I give it to all the important people. But anyways, hey SJ, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
You
You're in
drinking?
quarantine, aren't you?
Not really. Self-imposed. I just call it my normal routine. Yeah, I don't.
You know.
There's really nothing ever. I don't want to do that. Nothing ever different. Today.
Greetings, SJ. Hello, Kevin. My name is
Greetings.
Dick.
But I figured, we'd have a little bit of drinky drink before the shills, which I just again found out happening.
And Brandon, of course.
The shills aren't going to go on care if I get on there a little inebriated, are they? No.
No, not at all. That's kind of
They
a
won't blame you.
prerequisite.
Have you seen our show, Steve?
Yeah, drinking helps.
It's a requirement, isn't it? It's a requirement.
It is.
Especially if your name is someone like Jutmunk the Drunk Monkey.
This is actually a pretty good sipping drink. I got to admit, brandy is one of those things that you got to kind of develop a taste for. But it's really good in coffee. Oh my God, Bailey's and with Bailey's too. Mm.
Oh yeah.
So this digestif that you had,
Digestif,
where
yes.
did it come from?
This is E&J. This is a VS Reserve that I get from a little local liquor store. That when I go shopping every so often, I'll pick it up. You can tell I've had this bottle a while. It's really like dusty. Because I just put a capful in for flavor. I don't ever drink it straight. It's like the first time I think I've ever really had it straight like this. It's good.
I'm drinking.
I just got a
Kraken.
notice.
For what? This?
No, I just got a notice from my school that said 4 students have now been tested positive for COVID.
Get out, really?
Yeah, 4.
Wow.
Wow, this is
And it says
disconcerting.
they were all traveling together at spring break with other UT students. So those other ones will probably get it too.
Well, they were saying that these
Yeah.
students that are just willfully, going down and hanging out on the beach and stuff like that are causing multiple problems because they just seem to be they have no give a shit attitude,
Yeah, I went and yelled at somebody, a friend of mine who went on vacation, traveling out of state. I thought that was irresponsible, but
Yeah, I want
I
to
did.
travel. I mean, I wanted to travel.
I traveled right
but-
before.
Well, it's
yes, before.
plane flights are cheap as hell right now, and in April I probably will I plan to go to Boston, but it's going to be a very short period of time. But the plane flights are 75% off. I mean, it's just ridiculously cheap.
I just looked up Denver. To go to Tampa to Denver is $42.
Yep, $70 for LA to Boston. Now that's not the flight I would take because of the hours, but still, it's less than $100. That ticket's normally $300. I mean, it's cheap. So, yeah, and I want to go spend the weekend in Boston, so I'll get to hang out with Swede and Nick.
Yeah.
But-
Who are you going to hang out with?
Nick Suter.
Swede?
No, Sweet.
Oh, Nick. Okay.
Heathen.
Yeah, Sweet
Sweet
Heathen.
Heathen and next little.
You've already forgotten who Sweet Heathen is, SJ?
Oh, I remember Sweet Heathen.
Okay.
Yeah, that's your girlfriend.
No, it's not my girlfriend. Just she's a friend as a girl, but I didn't think she's that
Oh.
forgettable. Yeah.
No, she's not
So-
forgettable. I remember her.
So there's a total solar eclipse in December, and we're wondering our ability to get there is maybe compromised by stuff.
Like what stuff?
Well, like travel restrictions and boat restrictions, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah,
It's-
yeah.
It's at around 11 degrees south, 126 degrees west. We got to get to, but it could be. We have to. Typically, we're going through French Polynesia, on the way through the Marquesas Islands, and then the spot. And we don't know if, for example, French Polynesia will have a ban on people from North America, or there'll be a ban on travel, or the airline will be.
Is he breaking up?
Yeah, locked up all the way there for me.
What have maybe.
Yeah, I'm trying to get vegan coral atheist in here, but unfortunately, I don't know where the hell she's at. She says she's stuck in the back room. What does that mean?
Oh,
Radio
she's
room?
probably in the
She's on the stream apps one.
yeah.
Oh yeah, you're in the wrong thing there, vegan.
No.
You're in the stream last. We went over to Google Meets. I already gave you the link in the DM, Twitter DM.
I was the first to like the video.
Yay! Nobody ever likes my videos.
Yay.
I haven't turned off. Now how do I get rid of this side panel again? I forget. People, chat. How do you get? I want to get rid of the side panel.
on the main
Just click away
Click on
from
the
it.
screen itself, and yeah,
Oh.
Yeah.
it'll just.
There you go. See, teamwork, man. Teamwork.
There you go.
Yeah. So, Riley says SJ is a friend. That's a girl too. Yes, SJ is a friend. She's a girl. Technically, she's a woman,
Yes.
but but I guess Sweet is
Woman,
technically a
yeah.
woman too. But
So, cheers, folks.
cheers, man. L'chaim.
Cheers.
Drinkathon.
Cheers.
There you go.
Let's see here. What else we got? Oh my goodness, I haven't been paying attention to my live chat. I got to catch up. But yeah, so how's everybody doing? Like in the not going out and doing much. Again, this is norm for me, but I've been talking to other people. They're just like they're going stir crazy. But it's like, really? I mean, it's not that bad, is it?
I'm kind of going stir crazy because I mean, self-isolation was already partly my schedule, but at the same time, I lost my job shortly before this started, and I've been hunting for a new one. And
Oh.
all of a sudden, there's no jobs to hunt for.
There's nothing. Yeah,
Yeah.
not a good time
Well, there
to go
is,
job
you know,
hunting.
actually, there's delivering jobs. Like you could go actually do it at a restaurant and say that you'll do the deliveries for them
Oh.
for takeout and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Or you
That's
could go
not a
to
bad idea.
Amazon and try to get a job with Amazon because Amazon's stepping it up.
There are a
Okay,
number of
that's
good
a-
restaurants that are converted to takeout, and but people don't necessarily want to go there. So on the other hand, if you could say, hey, call me and I'll do delivery, because they call up and say, hey, can you deliver? And say we don't have anyone to deliver. Well, going back and forth between the kitchen and
Right.
and the home. So
Yeah.
so you would actually be doing a number of people a favor. Another thing
Yeah.
to do is to shopping. going
Shopping
grocery
where?
shopping for people.
Oh, for
You
people,
can-
yeah. If there's stuff to buy.
You know what? You could set yourself up as Uber Eats and be the Uber Eats thing. So you go pick up food for people
Yeah.
at stores and restaurants and just go through them because they've already got all the logistics for you.
Yeah, because the Uber Lyft
Hi,
isn't very,
guys.
very
I
good.
actually I do something similar on the side. I
Vegan!
do DoorDash and
Vegan.
Hi guys, how are you?
Hi.
Hey, vegan.
You look all dolled up, vegan.
A little bit, not much.
Are you going out somewhere?
Yeah.
Because no, oh wait, no, I guess you're not. Are you?
No.
I
No.
love your shirt, by the way.
Thank you. Isn't that
Yes,
hysterical?
mama.
I love it.
No, but I know that there's a Lyft drivers are having a hell of a time. A lot of them are doing now that Uber Eats thing, Jay, and delivery drivers is something they're hiring. They're also hiring for people for manufacturers. For like, I know that toilet paper companies are desperate right now. They're in full production mode. But
Yeah.
And you know, I say for those people that are in the South Bay, the great restaurant La Fiesta is actually open and taking orders for pickup. So
yeah, but I don't have a
So,
car.
I-
I mean, I still got. I can't even go through any drive-throughs, right? I mean, unless I get a Lyft, a Uber, which I have. I have Uber here, but
yeah,
I don't really bother. I went shopping, last week, and I am not even exaggerating. There was no bread, no milk, no eggs, no canned goods, no paper towels. And
Time to go vegan.
first of all, there was only about 80% of that left missing. I mean, there's only about 20% left. 80% was
Actually,
gone.
you know,
That's true.
I did buy a vegetable lasagna though. Does that count?
Yeah,
it's
halfway there.
it's funny you should mention that because at the grocery store I went to, the vegan food was there, right? They were really nice, and so I chowed out on all the
Absolutely.
I'm actually technically a vegetarian, but I'm happy to go
It
go
works.
vegan.
Yeah,
And
go
there was
vegan.
perfectly good stuff there that was left behind, and
Mhm.
people didn't know what to do. It was like that's their problem. So,
I definitely cannot survive vegan. Vegetarian,
yes,
I
you could.
like some of the vegetarian dishes, but
Oh, you haven't eaten
Oh.
my food though.
you never cooked for me.
and
Come
And
on,
so
we're making some grub.
yeah, and so I have in my kitchen. I've been doing some interesting stuff back in the back area. So yes,
Literally just
use-
making fudge brownies with marshmallows.
I'm trying to lose weight, but you know they have decided that marijuana dispensaries and alcohol stores are considered to be essential. Not bars, not bars. But I'm not even
I looked at a
exaggerating.
list.
Yeah,
I looked at a list of essential services because I was concerned because
Yeah,
my brothers
essential.
run an equipment rental business. And so I was wondering if that's considered an essential service. So any services also that are affiliated with electricians, plumbers, those sorts of things, that's a go-to. That's considered essential. There's actually a bigger list than people say.
I think there's two reasons why I can imagine that liquor stores must be essential. One, because you need alcohol to get through a lot of shit, right?
Oh, yeah.
Especially like watching the shills. It's
If they don't want
mandatory.
people to protest, can you imagine what kind of an outrage would be in the world if you lock off the liquor store?
And the other thing is, think about this: how much more burden would it tax the system for the hospitals if you have people going through withdrawals and detoxing because they can't get alcohol?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. And so in the Bay Area, particularly like Santa Clara County, I was when I was elected official, I was as punishment put on the Emergency Preparedness Council, and through a stroke of problems became the chair of it, and we were doing drilling, right? And in fact, one of the things we did was we would drill scenarios. One of the scenarios I had was a flu virus like the 1918 pandemic, and after we would drill, and we work with nonprofits and other things. We would assess what happened, and one of the things that we realized that was not part of the drill that is now standard is, for example, pet care, right? Pets and pet food and veterinary stuff was one of the things. Another item was making sure electricians, plumbers, people that are critical to infrastructure were considered important. And then also people going to restaurants to do the takeout was another thing that we added. And that got picked up because we were actually in Santa Clara County. We were actually taking emergency preparedness seriously back in the 1990s, and so I can happy to say that if you see pets and also, by the way, the issue about pets and liquor stores was to do with compliance. It was felt that if the measures were seen to be too draconian and people were not getting the stuff that they wanted, then there would be less compliance. Because the way that the measures are working, at least in California, is that you are requested to do things, right? You're asked to do things, and while it's not being aggressively enforced, what they're enforcing are people who are putting the public health at danger in danger. And enforcement can be everything from you're subject to arrest to prosecution and fines later on. So right now, the general public, at least in California or in the Bay Area, is pretty much complying. And so you want to get compliance as opposed to forcing people to comply.
So
you add things like
Landon,
go ahead.
I was just saying what you're suggesting is that in order for the government to get you to do what they want you to do, they need you liquored up.
Or
I'm not disputing that, by the way.
And your pets and that sort of thing.
We did not get your pets drunk.
Yes, and so there are things that so at least right now when someone says, do I have to comply? The answer is, well, technically no, but if you are seen as endangering the public health, you could be subject to arrest or fine or imprisonment.
Okay, so what happened the other day on the Great Debate Community channel? I had a little hangout on Pastor Greg Locke that was, advocating that people still go to church, and he said we're going to still have worship on Sundays. And I asked SJ the same thing from a social responsibility aspect. He's willfully violating the self-imposed restrictions in order to stroke his ego. It has nothing to do with religion at that point. I have nothing against people of faith and they want to pray, but there has to be social responsibility, and he's putting his congregation at risk, bar none. That's a fact. He's putting his congregation at risk. And as a society, we have certain things that we step in and say, you know what, you're putting people in danger. That is not freedom of religion. People that handle snakes have died from it. We have stepped in and said, look, you can no longer do this, right? So do you think that he has I know he has a moral obligation that he's violating, but do you think he has a legal obligation to withhold having church services? Or do you think that people should just go, you know what, you're doing wrong. If anybody catches it, you're morally and legally culpable for it? I think so.
I think it's completely wrong for him to do that. I think it's completely irresponsible to open up the churches in the first place. I mean, they can go online and stream it. That's what my church does.
Yeah, I have nothing wrong with that. In fact, that would make sense to me, right? I mean, it really would.
But here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that these things about shelter in place is not to protect you. It's to protect the public.
Right.
It is to protect the medical system so that we don't have too many new cases that require hospitalization.
Exactly.
And so I was explaining to the guy,
absolutely.
Same as everybody getting vaccinated. As soon as a few don't do it, boom, all hell breaks loose, right? Exact same thing.
And that's what I was explaining to my friend who said, "Oh, I took winter vacation and went off to this B&B, blah blah blah, and a number of state." It's like, well, you don't understand. You may be a vector, you may be a carrier, you may be creating viruses. The person comes in and cleans, catches, right? You can be morally culpable for that. But the other business is that this stay at home is not to try to prevent you from getting the virus. Mm-hmm. It's trying to prevent the healthcare system from being overwhelmed and hospitals being overrun.
Exactly. I mean, there's two things. One, even when you have people that don't get immune for vaccine, you still have herd immunity, right? So that's still going to be some type of immunity as a whole, but that requires a certain amount of people to get vaccinated, so you have that lack of transmission as a vector throughout the society, because you're not in close proximity to each other. And if one person has the not vax, but these people are, there's a herd immunity to be had. But like SJ Tom's saying, the organizations want to have like online things. It's not for their safety; it's for other people's safety, which they seem to not have any consideration for. And if God is up there going, hey, you're not even willing to take proper steps to help your brother out by not going out during this time, I think God would probably hold Pastor Locke accountable for his moral responsibility, personally.
And so county health or local health might consider that church operating, if they deem that to be a public health hazard, they'll shut it down.
I can't even imagine a state would allow that to happen. Any of the states, because all of them, I believe every single state has some coronavirus. So
yeah, but do we have a right to shut down the congregation if it's over 50 people? Because right now it's not mandatory.
Yes.
Yeah. I also would say for the people who are going, what in the world are you thinking?
But okay, well, here's the thing, though. I mean, we got people, like I said, that that are so
they believe in an invisible dude that has magical powers and is going to help out them and look out for them, and they're extra special because they go to church and do all the right things, and so of course they're not going to be the ones that are going to get any type
I think SJ would push back on that and just say, look, not all of them think that way. I mean, God helps those who helps themselves, right? I mean, SJ, you're a person of faith, but you got to admit you would have to be an idiot to sit there and handle poisonous snakes, thinking that God's not going to God's going to intervene and prevent you from getting bit, right? I don't think you would do that, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not an idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
I go to the doctor, I get my vaccinations.
Yeah.
You just do that stuff because you want to be responsible.
Right.
And so, go ahead.
Going back to what Landon said, it's about getting that curve down of infection rate so the medical services can cope with it.
Yes, I mean, because there, when people contract it, there's a certain percentage that need medical care, another certain percentage that need acute medical care, and other people that need actually hospitalization. In the U.S., there is a limited number of hospital beds per person. We have a fairly backwards medical system. And as a result, we got to protect that service so that other people who have critical issues of diabetes, heart disease, and so forth can also still get treated, right? Understand right now that there's next levels of stuff being prepared for when the hospital system gets overwhelmed. So again, stay at home is not for you. It's not to try to keep you from catching it. It's trying to slow down you or other people getting it later on.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's important. That's why my friend who went off on vacation is being irresponsible. He's saying, but I'm just in my car and I'm in this little mountain cabin and everything's okay. No, you don't understand.
No.
Right? And so people might say they go to church and pray and God will blah blah blah. It's the problem is that they leave church and they go back out in the community and therefore increase the public health risk.
Yeah, but look at all the spring breakers. Yeah. Go ahead.
Can I pull the other side of the coin here? We literally last night on our show watched a thing by somebody who's very much religion proves science and stuff, which I think does go too far sometimes. But one of the points the person brought up was the fact that in the Bible, there's a couple of passages, quotes, verses, that's it, sorry. And they actually go into proper hand washing techniques, although it did go over a couple of days. It was over dead bodies. But point being is it's in there, and there actually is some stuff that says, hey, you got to do some clean stuff. So I'm not disagreeing with you in any way. I just wanted to throw that in because I really did go through it last night on the show. And I mean, I was ripping it apart, so don't get me wrong, right? But it's there, so we should give them at least that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if what text you're referring to, but the issue is not maybe religious text. It's like, what's the current health system and the current society? What do we need in order to be able to function?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm not agreeing. But fair
yeah,
point.
Exactly.
Other people say they'll point to the religious text and say, well, see here, there's this don't eat this bad stuff and do all this ritual thing, and they'll try to justify it. But on the other hand, they ignore a whole bunch of other stuff that's actually quite disgusting.
Well, if people didn't eat bats, I mean, there's a rumor, I don't know if it's a rumor, but the news at one point pointed out that some of the people in China might have been eating bats, and that's where this whole thing started.
That can't be a good
idea. Other articles actually looked at the DNA of the actual virus and compared it to different animals and saw a lot of the virus DNA in pangolins. You can say a whole bunch of things that it might be this and it might be that. Yes,
the pangolins are so cute.
Stay away from eating all animals.
I couldn't eat one of the pangolin. That's too cute.
I think that the vegetarian vegans have a little bit of stuff because what we see with some of these virus crossovers, where we're talking about species crossovers, is where there are intense human and animal interactions, right? It can be in the form of inner cities where I saw that these people had a chicken coop and chickens were pooing down to a garden that was below where people were trying to grow vegetables and eating that stuff. It's that intense things that create situations where viruses can jump species and cross over. One of the things that happens, at least for the carnivore diet, is that we have created situations in certain countries where meat and people are in close proximity. Other places, the animals are out there and stuff is brought in, but in places, and China is one of those places where you can find in an inner city a pig pen and a daycare center side by side. Again, I'm not exaggerating. This is what happened in Xi'an. And they consider it to be, and there, I always explain that was supposedly a good thing because the children went to the daycare would be exposed to these things early on, right? The problem with that logic is you get virus crossovers between species that mutate and create problems like we have today.
Exactly. A lot of the E. coli that we see that on like plants like romaine are caused by using animal-based fertilizer on fresh greens that you don't cook. And so if we as a society were able to move away from stuff like that, I think we would see far less sickness.
Thank you, Manya, for your $2 super sticker there. That gave the link to join, by the way, in the your DM. Somebody's gonna take that and go, look, in order to get Steve Hangout, man, you gotta give a super sticker. Look at what Steve does, man. He's behind a paywall.
By the way, I don't want to imply that if you eat meat, you're responsible for this. I don't want to.
Yeah, because I eat meat. I am responsible for this shit. I cook my meat, and I make sure that you can get even cat feces has the potential to have problems, especially with pregnant women with that bacteria that you find generally in there. So I mean,
unless properly cooked.
Yeah, you want to cook cat feces well done. But I mean, I don't blame meat eaters because I'm a meat eater. I'm a carnivore.
But if you consider China, I mean, my parents worked for about 2 decades in China, about 2.5 decades, and I visited them frequently when they were over there, and I saw things that say, there's a reason why in the U.S. we have health codes, right, and construction codes and building codes, because you would see stuff that was going on there that was permitted by the government or just not enforced, and creating really bad situations, unhealthy situations. It's not surprising. Again, I don't blame China, but it's not surprising that places like that, where there are intense items of animals and people in the inner city with food sources, it's not surprising you can get stuff. Because again, I saw cases where rats crawling along on wires, holding like duck and chicken carcasses, and while the rats couldn't get down to there, they would certainly defecate on those carcasses. And you sit there and say, is that a good idea? Well, they say, most of the time, okay, but there's a lot of people that end up dying from that kind of really poor health hygiene. If I have something to condemn the Chinese government, it is their commitment to infrastructure services is appalling, and they should be, the government of China should be ashamed. They should have a major leap of faith. If you cannot even
careful, you're going to get us all killed. They do listen to these things.
If you can't even provide clean water in cities like Beijing, what in the hell are you doing, right? The sanitation, like water, electricity that's reasonable, sewage, and those kind of basic services. The government of China is incompetent in being able to do it. But there's places.
This is why you have travel restrictions. You do realize this, Landon. This is why you can't go to other countries.
But
he's been restricted.
Like, and you don't sit there and say, we're too diverse and we're too big and we're too populous. I'm sorry, for example, there's other countries that have equally, populous or equally remote that do a good job. So the government of China should be ashamed and have a loss of faith because they fail to do something that governments are supposed to be doing, providing decent water, decent power, decent sewage systems. So,
yeah, I'd like to point out about China too. So China has 1.4 billion people. They have the highest foreign direct investment right now. They surpassed us not too long ago, and they have the most GNP right now, not per capita, but GNP total. And so the issue is China has the money. So China could fund itself and do all this kind of stuff. I mean, you see this stuff in poor countries, like I've seen it in Belize, where it's open sewage and really disgusting conditions where people let animals hang out.
In the Philippines. Philippines, same way. Yeah. There's a whole river, and it's all it is river of crap.
That's how it is in Belize too, Belize City. It's awful.
Yeah,
but you expect it in places like that. You don't expect it in China.
But there are other places that are not that well off that do a fairly decent job. And the fact that China has all that wealth, but it's incapable of supplying basic civilized infrastructure for their people, is a condemnation of the Chinese government.
Yeah, I agree. And we're at a worldwide condemnation. Quick super chat, Mr. President 99, €5. There's a video out there of the COVID-19 reality in Italy. Just hope Trump steps it up 200 levels. Trump has been incompetent from the day one on this. Matter of fact, I don't much like political advertisings and political things like that, but I watched one that was just undeniable. Because I remember it in real time kind of stuff. A month and a half ago, Trump was sitting there saying, by next week it'll all be over. This, it's a hoax. We have nothing to worry about. And for weeks, several weeks to a month and a half, he was downplaying this. And then all of a sudden, overnight, he's like, "Oh, this is pandemic," and he's like, "And I've been saying it all along." The hell you have! His incompetence and his inability to act has been staggering. Simply staggering.
The latest thing where a press person gave him a softball. People are scared, Mr. President. What do you do? And he went and did the nasty question and stuff. I mean, that was that was intended to be, because what you do is when someone's scared, you say, well, in this time of crisis, Americans need to draw together to go on our core strengths and to use the things that make America great to see the future, to help each other out, and to come together as a country as we've ever done. You do all that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
But he seems to be incapable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because he's incompetent. He doesn't know how to handle any of these things. Then he has, what is it? What's her name? Pauline White, or what's her name? His spiritual advisor that's been Paula White milking this whole thing for her own nefarious, Yeah, I mean, that's a human garbage. I mean, the people he surrounded himself with, and he was supposed to come in and go, I'm bringing in the best and the brightest. No, and he hasn't listened to anybody. He doesn't listen to any of his advisors. By
the way, if I can clarify, when I'm talking about critical of the government of China, I'm not critical of Chinese.
No, of course not.
And I'm not saying this is a Chinese virus or so forth.
No.
But the government of China is an incompetent, disgusting organization that has lost face based upon what they do.
Yeah, it's a dystopian type.
And the people of China are suffering under a corrupt government. So even when they were talking about, we're going to do this, we're going to do this quarantine in Wuhan, it's Guanxi. People have connections left. That's how
it's still, I don't mind calling it a Wuhan virus, because viruses are named where they come from, and there are precedents for this. That's not racist by any imagination. It's not the Chinese virus, although I don't consider that racist any more than saying it's an American virus. I just don't look at things like that. I think that people read into the way maybe Trump referred to it. Yeah, I think he was going for racial overtones, but as a whole, I don't think it's that racist. But I wouldn't call it the Chinese virus, because it's not. It's a Wu-Tang, because that's where it originated from, right? And that's particular to
Wu-Tang clan.
Wu-Tang clan. Yeah.
I don't think it's. I also think that it's so silly. People want to throw around the word racist all the time, and it's just Trump was clearly trying to shift the blame to the Chinese, and it is the Chinese fault, but it's also Trump's fault. So it's it's mutual blame.
Yeah, no, it's enough blame to go around. Absolutely. I mean, and look,
And it was directly after he had read something about some conspiracy regarding the Chinese, and the day after that, then he's calling it now for the first time the Chinese virus. And then you see people that are of Asian descent getting attacked because he's using and blaming the Chinese virus. And that has consequences.
He's politicizing the tragedy. He's politicizing a pandemic, and not in a way that it should be politicized. Like I agree with Landon, there needs to be culpability for the Chinese government for their complacency and all this. That is not politicizing. That's just a fact based upon the what the inactions they have done, and I think they've actively tried to cover up. You know.
And understand if you are in part of the supply and manufacturing chain, take this time to diversify your manufacturing so you don't depend upon government managed Chinese government supply chains for your products.
I don't like buying Chinese anyways, to be honest with you. I think I'm American based.
Do not do any business with Huawei.
My husband works in milling machines and stuff like that, CNC machines, and it's always been hell trying to get parts. It's even worse now.
Yeah.
There was a question earlier. It wasn't a question; it was a throwaway statement from Gary. But I wanted to ask Landon when I got him in here real quick, since he has been to the North Pole. Actually, you've been to North and South, haven't you, Landon?
That's right. I told you from the South, but I've been to both North.
You've been to both
the
North.
More common in the South than the North.
Yeah, okay. So I thought you had been to South. He called me from Meridian Satellite from the South Pole, but I know you've been to North as well. But because of the way that the permafrost has been melting, the way the snow caps have been melting, the way the ice has been diminishing, we know for a fact that there probably is these types of pathogens that exist from millions of years ago in the permafrost and in the soil that's being exposed now that have not been exposed for millions of years, that we are not going to be able to have instant ways of doing antibiotics for or antivirals for, because they are, they're ancient, right? And so do you think that as we explore more in those areas, as climate change goes up, there'll be a possibility of a pandemic or epidemic from ancient bacteria because of that?
Excellent possibility.
Excellent question, Steve. And as I mentioned,
I ask good questions, man.
You do, right? And this is something we talked about when we're working on the Lake Vostok project. For those who don't understand or don't know, underneath the Antarctic ice caps are huge lakes. For example, Lake Vostok's lake system, it actually has a volume and measured in on several thousand cubic kilometers of water of lakes, like Great Lakes size underneath the ice. And so we asked about, and these lakes are biologically active. So asking about what's the risk of that? Well, the people that I talk to that I trust say a couple of things. First of all, the stuff that's near the surface, right, is stuff that's been laid down over the last decades. It's not something that's like ancient stuff. So it's the digging down deep in that you're going to go through. However, the digging down, the best you can get in terms of ice is around 850,000 years. The Antarctica froze over about 1.5 million years ago. So we're not talking about super ancient stuff.
No, but a million years is still quite a bit in evolutionary terms as far as biology, because
what about what happens with there? And the answer is that we'll understand in evolution that the situation is much more likely that our pathogens introduced into Lake Vostok would kill off that stuff, because that life bulb system has been biologically isolated.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that we have today has evolved from that stuff and has managed to be able to survive. It's more like this is a native species and you're bringing smallpox to them, or equivalent smallpox.
So you think that our modern stuff would work on it?
Yes.
And so it'd be a lot different. Real quick, let me ask you, it would be a lot different if we were managed to go backwards in a million years. It took our pathogens back then a million years. Those species would be more likely to be wiped out by it.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Quote, my unfinished journey for $5 for super chat. Trump was born in Queens. Should we call him Queens just because that's where he's from? He thinks he's a king. Why not?
You know, I heard from somebody that I was just thinking of the places on Earth where the coronavirus is not. So right now, the coronavirus is not in the Sentinel Islands, but I wouldn't advise going there.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
they got their own thing.
And
They got a whole
I think
biodome
I
of their
heard
own.
It's not in Monaco.
It's not in North
think I
Korea,
heard that.
according to
I
North
don't
Korea. North Korea
It's not
says
on the
that-
Sentinel Islands. That's the islands where those tribes live
Yes.
that recently
Right.
killed a missionary, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we know
Well,
this
no,
virus
there's-
isn't there.
It's the Andaman Islands, and it's Sentinel Island in the Andaman Islands.
It's not on Mars either. So
Yeah. So Antarctica is coronavirus free.
The moon?
They actually started the quarantine, for example, in the interior bases around in February in terms of not allowing people to go there unless they, and so in fact, the number of people that were planning to leave that in the interior that are wintering over because they couldn't get replacements of people coming down. And of course, the sun has just set at the South Pole. And at that point, no one travels. So when you hear about things like, there was this rescue flight of someone coming in who was ill, what the protocol, what they do is that the people who go there to assist in the flight and transport leave, right? They go to a different spot where the people are collected and everyone leaves. There's no one that is allowed to stay. So Antarctica is at least there, but you can't get there. So.
well, I mean, I know that the virus is more intolerable of higher temperatures than cold, but even still, Antarctica is pretty freaking cold. Do you think it's actually survivable down there?
Yeah, I mean, the issue about temperature is a little bit of a misnomer. Temperature changes behavior of people. And so places that are cold, where people congregate and you have air circulation systems, allow for effective transmission of viruses and bacteria between people. Whereas places that are warm, people are outside and more spread out. It's not so much that the temperature is there. And proof of this is that while we were sitting here in February, having the coronavirus pick up in the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere was after in sort of the peak of their summer heat. And you don't see a northern southern.
So it doesn't affect
hemisphere
the virus itself. Like, for example, I was trying to explain to somebody, we should get Drillstreber in here one of these days. I don't know why he sits in his live chat. He doesn't come in, but we should get Drillstreber to tell us. Like, for example, I was trying to explain that when you have 60% alcohol, these alcohols have a tendency to denature the proteins of the viruses. And so when people say, well, it doesn't really kill the virus. Well, yeah, even though the virus isn't technically alive, if it denatures the proteins and make them unable to be transmitted any longer or infect a host, it's dead. I mean, I call that killing a virus.
And soap and water is extraordinarily effective, probably, and in some cases more effective than these antibacterial.
Well, that's a suffocant that actually affects the lipid bilayers on the soap and water, right? But it's the same thing. It effectively makes it inert. I'm going to call that killing it.
Well, no, it's the fact you're introducing alcohol, and alcohol actually can be a barrier to actually retain a virus against the skin. And then when alcohol wears off, because of the gel wears off, now you're exposing it.
Well, that's true too, but I mean, still, it does.
Soap and water is the best.
It still denatures it, right? So the proteins are going to be unfolded, and it still will basically affect the bilipid membrane, and so the cell, well, I guess that's for bacteria. The virus is in bilipid membrane, but it's still going to kill bacteria that way, right?
Yeah,
soap and water.
And again. So temperature is not going to. It's not like the virus dies when it reaches 35 Celsius. It's that people's behavior and social contacts change between winter and summer.
So what you're saying is, though, this still acts as a cure.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So I'm curing myself of coronavirus, which I don't have.
Works for me.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. Cheers.
Cheers. Rum and Coke.
Well, Steve McRae is 95% virus free.
Are you kidding? Like 20% of your body is actually it's probably more than that. It's like 30% of your body, something like that, is flora that's not of your own
But is that more bacteria than viruses?
It's bacteria. Yeah, it's bacteria, but you still have some viruses. But
look at this way: 95%.
You're not comprised of your own stuff.
Come on.
You're comprised of
more bacteria in your body than cells.
But think about that.
The alcohol.
Hang on, 30%
the alcohol in Steve is virus free. We can agree there.
This is good proof. Yeah, this is 80% proof stuff. But yeah, you're actually comprised more of life that's not your own. That's pretty amazing, right?
Yeah.
What did you, Steve? You posted that on Twitter. You posted something like "single quarantined woman will bring toilet paper."
Yeah, I said looking for. Yeah, it's so funny too because I said I posted on my Facebook too. I said looking for single quarantined woman will bring face masks, hand sanitizer, and toilet paper. And a lot of people thought that was funny, but I put it on my Facebook. And Ermine, who I've known for a very long time ago, she posted, "You're disgusting," and I'm like, "Well, that's what the face mask is for." I was like, take a fucking joke, man. Jesus Christ,
right?
Man.
That's funny.
You can't laugh at it.
Have you noticed?
I'm non-politically correct when it comes to jokes. Jesus. Yeah.
Right.
Steve, you get a lot of flack on Twitter. I'm just wondering, and I do too, but I'm wondering on your case, have you noticed that people are extremely, like lately, even worse than ever?
No, I thought it's actually died down a lot. I had been privatized for a long time. Privatized. I've been privated on my private. I've been drinking.
He was publicly funded, and now he's been
I've been privatized. Yeah, so I made it not private for a while. I go back and forth, but it was funny, SJ. I shit you not. Some dipshit was saying that. I have a paywall on my Twitter, and that if you want to read my tweets, you've got to like subscribe to my Twitter as a paywall. I was like, how does that work? I'm curious about this, right? Really?
I jumped into that discussion. That was fun.
Oh my God.
I have an important question about Twitter, which is why?
I'll tell you why. But first, my unfinished journey for $2. He says hot chai with Christian Brothers brandy. Yeah, by the way, I do like Christian Brothers brandy. I got the E&J special, the reserve, but if I didn't get that, I do get Christian Brothers because I do get brandy every so often for my coffee. This is something I forgot that I had. It was sitting. I cleaned out some of my cabinets and I didn't even realize I had this in my cabinet. That only had scotch left. So
beautiful.
Yeah, it was nice.
But I mean, I think again the point you got to realize is in this whole thing is that we're playing a part in society to try to slow down this virus. It is the case that most of the people who are listening will eventually contract the virus. Most of the people contract the virus. May not require huge hospitalization, but some will. The result is we try to make sure that everyone doesn't show up to the hospital at once needing acute care.
Yeah, it's like chickenpox. Pretty much everybody has chickenpox virus in some capacity in their system. And if you've ever had the chickenpox, you never actually fully get rid of it. That's why later on herpes zoster can be developed, which is shingles. Right. So
shingles. Herpes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so think about this staying at home is to protect your neighbors and to protect your community.
That's why I don't like my neighbors.
Don't be a dick.
Just saying.
If you want to make people paranoid, walk down the street and start sneezing and coughing.
Start sneezing on their houses.
But fuck you. Let's just think about masks, right? One of the things about
that's hilarious.
A mask is effective if you're infected. Is the ability of you coughing and sneezing and spewing out droplets that contain pathogens. Masks, on the other hand, if you are healthy, are mostly a bad idea because one of the things that they create a barrier for which material can lodge in them and breed, and you're breathing in there and you're creating a nice warm environment, and particularly if they're not sealed well, stuff can get in behind it, so you can end up becoming sick by wearing masks. The surgeon that operated on me wore a mask, not because I was infective, but because he had bacteria and viruses he didn't want to transmit to me.
Yeah.
The people who wear masks effectively to prevent other people from catching them, not the other way around. Now you sit there and say, go ahead.
Can I ask a maths question? Because we've got some maths.
Sure.
And this is something that is just freaking me out at the moment. Can someone explain to me why 0.6 to the power of 0.6 is less than 0.0001 to the power of 0.0001.
I would have to see
because that is just killing me at the moment.
Can you write that down somewhere? Because I don't know.
Write it down.
Oh, you're talking about 0.6.
He's talking about fractional exponents.
Hold on, someone's getting a bit of it. Say it again.
How many zeros? 0001?
He shows that to the room, the Drinkathon with the math question. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's just at the moment it's just this. Okay. This just does not make.
You really do good. You're Russ. You really are stir crazy from quarantine, aren't you?
Well, Russ, you are the right person.
I understand that there's an inversion.
I was mute this whole time, really?
Yes. Oh, Monia she thought we were ignoring her or something.
No, I don't judge people. Let me tell you that. But I was screaming at top of my lungs. There are only 2 decimal places there, and the other digit has like 3 decimal places. Do the math. When you start multiplying 2 decimal places, and if you're multiplying 3 decimal places by itself, you're increasing the number of decimal places by what? By the factor of 2 each time. Oh, sorry, 4, and then the other one by what?
I hate
9. 6.
I'm getting turned on. I like when Monty talks math.
Hold on a second. The question that was
0.001 to the power of 0.001 is about 0.9967, I think.
Yeah.
But if you do 0.6 to the power of 0.6, it comes out at about 0.643.
Okay, so
the decimal places.
So here's the thing that you need to think. You raise a good question. The function you're talking about is what does x to the x do? Right? What happens? What is the function? F of x is x to the x power. That's what you're doing.
Because x to the power of 0 should equal 1, shouldn't it, in math?
Well, that's a different thing.
No.
We're talking about x to the x. X to the x, right? When x is 1, you have unity. When x goes beyond 1, it exponentially increases.
Yeah.
When x goes between 1 and 0, it actually approaches 1. Right?
Yeah.
Right? As you go towards 0, the function approaches 1. So something just under like 0.6 is below greater than 0, less than 1. But as you approach 0, x to the x approaches 1. As you approach 1, x to the x approaches 1. As you go beyond 1, it goes in x. So you have this curve that goes below 1 at 1, drops down to a minimum, and then approaches and comes up. As you approach 0, it approaches 0. We're talking about the limit.
Yeah, it's because you're
0.0001 as you're getting close to 1. X to the x as it approaches 0 approaches 1.
My explanation was so layman compared to that.
All you do is just go to Wolfram Alpha, and you just put the function in that you want, and you do limit of that from x to 0, whatever you want to go to.
I was being more practical. You're multiplying decimal places.
I like that. That actually made more sense to me, if I'll be honest, than Landon. I know about
Landon never makes sense. What does he know? He's just a mathematician. Screw him.
But I've been watching some maths, and it's like a different language. It's like if I talk,
it is a living language.
If I talk in IC security and we start talking about APTs and various other acronyms, it doesn't make sense to anybody unless you're in the industry.
I understood what Landon said. It made perfectly good sense to me. He's talking about the fact that if you have x to the x is x equal to 1 and you have unity, then anything less than that, if you take the limit, it's going to be approaching that from the right, at least from the left-hand side. You'll see it. Yeah, and so he's just talking about...
That's where you've got the 2 sides of the thing. And,
you have x and right limit.
One increases, the other increases.
So my question to the audience...
He knows what he's doing.
I know.
The function x to the x as x approaches 0 but doesn't equal 0, what's the minimum value of x to the x? Where is something to the something power? Where is the minimum?
Of a bitch.
Well, what's the minimum?
You know 1 to the 1 is 1,
right?
And as you approach 0, it approaches 1,
and 1 to the 0 is 1.
Where is it the minimum?
It's about
0.5.
It's about 0.543, isn't it? It's something like that. I've watched a few vids on this recently, and that's more from memory than understanding.
0.5 something or other.
I've got
Yeah,
It's got to be some kind of fraction.
I can add numbers.
She's like, I can add. I could do basic arithmetic. All right, we'll ask. Well, he's figured that whatever that value out. We'll ask. I guess we'll ask math trivia question because Landon doesn't count for this because he can answer any of these questions. He's excluded from this answer. We're just going to limit him off the bat. Well, he'll give the answer when we're done. When is it that 0 equals 1? Look at that smirk. Little bastard. He knows off the bat. Yes, 0 equals 1 in a very specific type of math. What is it?
Well, 0 to the power of 0 equals 1.
No.
Yes.
Shenanigans?
0 to the 0 power is equal to 1, but 0 does not equal 1. Anything to the 0th power is equal to 1, but when is it that 0 equals 1 is considered to be an appropriate expression? Because that's what an equal sign is, an expressive form, right? An equal sign is an equality between two things. It says that there's an equality or equal relationship to be had. Not that they're exactly all properties being the same, right? People make the mistake because if not, then x equals y would make no sense because x obviously has different properties than y symbolically. But x means there's a relationship to be had between x and y. So when is it there's a relationship?
Equality between the sum and the and the resultant.
There's a relationship between the symbol 0 and 1, but what anybody know what that would be? It has to do with ring.
Say 0 equals 1.
It's called the 0 ring.
Are we missing any other factors? I mean,
yeah,
are
it's ring theory.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ring theory?
Yeah, it's called a 0 ring.
Modulus.
It's where you have the added. It's where you have the added.
Like a wedding ring, like a diamond ring.
It's when you have the added identity equal to the multiplicative identity.
It goes in a cycle, like like a clock is a clock face is 12s, right? It's modulus, right? Your remainder.
Like you go from multiplication to distributive, and then something. If I'm not wrong. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes
sense. I read it somewhere.
0 represents hang on. 0 represents the additive identity. 1 represents the multiplicative identity. And identity is anything you do to yourself that you remain the same, right? So 5 times 1 is 5. So 1 is considered to be the multiplicative identity. So in ring theory, 0 and 1 is saying that you have two identities that are the same for that. What is it? Group, I guess.
But yes.
You could make 0 equal 1 in basic programming, but that was quite a long time ago.
Yeah, if you have an object order program, you can do anything.
Yeah, well, me and Landon's favorite thing is telling people about 0.99 repeat equal 1 and watching their head spin.
Yeah.
We love that.
So
that's my favorite. I love that. Never get much for that.
So
never get enough.
x to the x power for x greater than 0, the minimum value is 1 over e.
1 over e. It makes sense actually because I remember like to figure out the Taylor series for e, and I'm not even looking this up. E to the x is equal to x to the n divided by n factorial, right?
Yes.
So that makes a lot of sense.
By the way, you just proved it.
Yeah, well, I did a video on Taylor series, right? I did a legit video on Calculus 2 explaining to people that very thing. So
Steve is smart. He knows his stuff.
I haven't done pre-calculus.
Don't say that. People look like, how much does Steve tell Landon? Yeah, I just know things, man.
You know when you start something and you kind of regret it 3/4 of the way.
Yeah,
through.
like
I am learning something.
But that's,
I know shit that I just don't let on half the time. I played.
Your question, Drews, was actually really
Landon. I just want to sit here and look pretty and drink. I don't want to have to think.
So I think your question was really good, and I would invite you to plot x to the x power over the number range and see what you see.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm.
All right,
that's what I'm doing, and it's kind of like a U form, and that's what freaked me out.
Yes, you'd be
because intuitively it's wrong, but when you do the math, intuitively it is wrong because you're taking two smaller numbers and coming up with a bigger one, and that just doesn't make sense. But I can see why it does.
All right, so let me ask you this, Druss. What is e to the I pi equals -1?
Custard.
Yes.
Well, for certain values of custard.
Steve, I'm going to flip this. What's your view on Ashurbanipal and the expansion of the Assyrian Empire?
I am all for it.
13th century BC.
I was totally in favor of it. I would have voted for that proposition. But yeah, let's ask the live chat. Do they know what e to the I pi equals -1 is? And actually what it actually comes from. Not just what it is, but what it's derived from.
And I'll say vote Ashurbanipal if you disagree.
Well, and if you're in student history, who was the first to demonstrate the e to the I pi is -1? Who? Oh, sorry. You got away.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Euler.
Is it complex numbers? Yeah, okay. I hated them. Oh, God.
Complex numbers. You know,
they like you.
Landon, let me tell you how I finally wrapped my head around complex numbers. And man, Manya, you're an engineer, so you could. By the way, do you use I or J, Manya?
I.
Okay, you're cool.
Yay.
But she has a background in electronics and engineering, and so master's degree in engineering, and they use J because they're retarded. Yeah. But
I don't judge.
So I for complex numbers.
I don't judge.
Yeah, well, I know why they use J, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so the way I wrapped my head around I was this, Landon, and you could tell me if you think this makes sense. If you have the X and Y axis, right? So you have an X axis. Now, if you go down that real number line and you go down the X as a real number line, let's say you go down to like 4. The I would represent you now leaving that real number line on a orthogonal path and then you start having a rotation around it. So the X, the complex numbers actually is a rotational value around a line, so to speak. And that's why you end up where you start after 2 pi.
Yes, because the polar coordinates to rectangular coordinates are best done if you use complex numbers.
Yes, we've had to do all that. We had to convert back and forth and all that crap. Yeah.
Do you have to do that for your
nuke school?
Nuclear?
Absolutely. We had to learn polar and rectangular coordinates. Yeah, sure.
Good, because there's some formulas that are important, and I do not like the word, the term imaginary numbers. Square root of -1 is not imaginary. It is complex.
Yeah, well, okay. The way the term is kind of misleading,
that's why I said complex numbers.
But like all real numbers are complex numbers.
Yeah,
real numbers are a subset. Yeah, real numbers are a subset of complex.
Subset, yeah.
Right.
It would have been the considered in places in medieval times that negative numbers were nonsensical.
Yes.
Right. That
they didn't know how to handle
a negative number. They would say, "Hey, that's absurd," and
error. They would be like, "Can't do this," right? Yeah.
But again, it's the intuitive of how can I have less than nothing?
Well, not necessarily. That's not what imaginary numbers is. That's why he was saying imaginary numbers is rotation. It's not less than nothing. It's you're no longer on the real number line any longer, right? Even though reals is a subset of the complex plane.
No, the medieval and negative numbers. That was one.
Oh, negative numbers. Yeah, negative numbers. Yeah.
But here we have a philosophical question: what is nothing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have you?
How can you give an attribute?
Would it be
have you ever,
even if it were nothing?
Landon? Have you ever looked inside the ears of G-Man?
But that's part of the problem is what is nothing? If you can describe nothing,
the absence of everything, the absence of anything, and you can have nothing and not have a ratification fallacy. So you got to be real careful. Just because you say nothing, you can't treat it as a concrete object, but you can describe it conceptually.
Here's my definition of nothing. Nothing is something that lacks any attribute.
Yeah. Well.
But zero is obviously not nothing.
Well, we're talking about philosophical nothing, not mathematical nothing, right? And philosophical nothing is the absence of everything. So anything that exists,
if your net worth is zero,
is absence of everything.
Have a net worth.
Something.
Yes. That's why zero is not philosophical nothing.
If you try to ascribe an attribute to nothing, you're making it something.
We're not. Well. Yeah, you don't. Well, we don't know what. Well, that's true. We don't. You don't want to ascribe any properties. Hang on. You don't want to ascribe any properties to nothing, only because we have no idea what the properties would even be of nothing, right?
Is nothing like a Schrodinger's cat?
Again, if you're assigning properties, then you are making it something, aren't you?
Well, not necessarily. That's the that's the fallacy. That's called a ratification fallacy. You got to be careful on how you treat nothing, because if you don't do it correctly, you have now solidified it and made it concrete, which is a fallacy. You got to treat it as an abstract thing.
By the way, Steve,
the
same problem occurs with everything, right? People who treat infinity as something.
Infinity is the
same fallacy.
Infinity is a concept, not a number.
That's what I'm saying. I'm stuck on everything.
Except on the Riemann North Pole, you can treat complex infinity as a number. But for all general practical, when you say like, when people like talk about infinity, they say like, well, x to the infinity, right? I know what they mean by that, but you technically cannot treat infinity as a binary operator or a number. You can't use it like that with respect to a binary operator. So we know what they mean by that, but to me, it's abusive notation.
Yes.
So.
Yay.
Well, is nothing like a Schrodinger's cat, though, where it's like the moment that you try to describe it, it is...
No,
because that's
because
that's a measurement.
The issue because the issue of superposition, it does not say it has nothing.
Right.
It says it doesn't have an answer. Right.
Right.
There's this assumption people have that every question has an answer.
Yeah. And just because you're a state of
that's not true.
It's both of them can exist simultaneously, right? So
actually, I don't know that there is an answer to every question which you don't know the answer to, which is I don't know, and that is an answer. It's just not a satisfying one.
No, it's not. I disagree. When we're talking about when we're talking about answers, right? When we generally understand an answer, there's two ways you could directly answer a question: yes or no, right? That's it. Those are the only forms of direct answers to a direct question is yes or no. There are an infinite number of indirect answers. I don't know is an indirect answer. But when we say, have you answered the question? You have not answered the question when you give an indirect answer. When we're talking about what we want to know a particular position, right? Now, do we say in the abstract that, yes, you gave an answer, right? But did you actually fulfill what we were asking the intent of the probative question, right? So if I ask you a yes or no question and you say Mazel Tov, sure, you said something, but did you actually performance-wise answer the question? I would argue no.
No.
Well, again, it depends if that's the honest answer from your position of knowledge.
Mazel Tov.
So that's where the rebut is, which is
no. You just say you didn't answer it, but it's your position.
You can give a binary proposition to an answer. But if you don't know whether proposition A or proposition B is true, then the answer of I don't know is still a truthful answer, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, to that regard, I guess you could say that if you're taking,
in terms of knowledge, yes.
If you're taking it as a
knowledge claim,
ontological versus the epistemological.
If you're taking it as an epistemic disposition, then yes, because what you're doing is effectively suspending judgment, and I don't know is equivalent to suspending judgment as an epistemic disposition.
Yes, I agree.
In that case, then yes, I would agree with you.
Yeah, I feel so much more comfortable in this ball court than the maths ball court.
Do you notice I have to? Do you notice that I have to switch on a fucking dime? I have to go like from one domain to another domain.
Like that.
Yeah. SJ still here? Did she?
No, she dropped out.
Oh. So what are we going to do on the shills tonight? We got about 20 minutes. I'm sure they want us there early. Am I going over to the shills?
Well, yeah, we're not in too big a rush because we always go for like 4 minutes late and we have a long ass intro, so there's not too big a hurry.
Your intro's longer than your show.
I'm gonna flip over in a couple of minutes just to help with the prep and whatnot. But 4:35.
Well, you know what I'll probably do?
Right?
I'll probably just turn this over to Landon and let's see how that would work. I would just mute here, I guess, and maybe let them continue here and then go over to your channel. I don't know. Now, I want because I got 100 people watching. I want them to all go watch the shills.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm still here.
I think that's
not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I
I like promoting other channels. I'm here. I like helping people, and
excellent.
Yeah.
I like that idea too.
Another rum and coke night sooner than the last time, right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yes,
I know.
please.
I mean, we're all here.
I've got
at home.
I've got some time coming up, but I've got a busy schedule because Monday we've got Jeff Holiday coming in. We're going to be doing should predatory pseudoscience be giving platforms, which I think is a great topic.
Nice.
We got Dr. Josh Rasmussen on Thursday, who's going to be talking about epistemology. We got MJ Dory, who's a philosopher, on Wednesday. We've got I think I might have Drunken Peasants next week sometime. And what's the other thing that I've got? Something else.
You know what you've got, Steve? You've actually got the perfect job for isolation.
I do. Yeah, no, all you motherfuckers that are like, oh, why does Steve do YouTube? Well, there you go. Job motherfucking security, bitch.
I just want to say, actually, it's nice to meet everybody because I think it's the first time for most of us. And Steve, good to see you again. So.
Oh, you guys don't know Druss?
Yeah.
He's old school.
No.
Oh, Druss is.
It's always good to see new faces.
Yeah, I like Druss ask good questions.
Yeah, Druss has been around for years. He just hasn't been around for years. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people.
ask questions.
Russ brought up a math question, and I really want to now go back to uni and start practicing math all over again. Yeah, I want. So. Russ, your fault.
I'm in my 50s, and I'm starting to try and get back into some of the stuff I learned when I was in my 20s.
Yay.
And I kind of understood, and I had to do some statistical probabilities.
Oh God.
And I suddenly went, oh, for God's sake, and I couldn't. So I cheated and I used a program, and then I felt bad.
Do you know what I did? I had to try to basically learn, T-squares, chi-squares, ANOVA, and you know what I subsequently did? Forgot every goddamn thing that I ever learned about it on purpose.
Except that Steve knows what a p-value is.
0.05 is usually for most things, and you have a significant alpha. Then you have type 1, type 2 errors. I mean, I got the basics, right?
I can smelt copper out of malachite.
But I mean, I don't like doing this stuff. Probabilities was hard, man. Commutations, permutations.
Digital signal processing and your telecom, they all have probabilities, and they have statistical probabilities.
Are you in cellular ISP?
426.
Backbones.
I don't know, whatever.
Are you doing cellular backbone?
What?
Are you doing telephony, cellular backbones?
That just went over my head. Sorry, I had a brain.
Are you doing telephony?
No, cell-based, mobile. Okay, no, it was just you were talking about waveforms and distribution, and that's currently a big question that's going on around sort of the 4G to 5G switch, and that stuff I understand a bit more about.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I had when I did my electrical electronics engineering, my background was mainly digital signal processing and telecommunications. Yeah, that was I had. So yeah,
I know what a multiplexer is. Sorry.
Yeah, I know what a multiplexer is, and I know diplex, singleplex. I had a ham radio communication license KB6 HSZ when I was 13.
Ooh. So how do you send multiple channels down a fiber cable, Steve?
I'll kill you right now. Don't you dare.
A multiplexer that has different wavelengths, so they bend it at different angles through the fiberglass.
Yeah.
Exactly correct.
Nice, Steve.
That was a good answer. That was actually a technically very accurate answer too.
I actually, you know what? I swear to God, I'm not even kidding. I got a book on digital signal processing sitting right outside
and you were
here.
supposed to provide me with
I also worked at Radio Shack, and I also worked with things like CTL, CMOS. I worked with.
So you worked with Radio Shack. We could actually get a question answered.
I was a store manager for Radio Shack. Yeah, for many
Let's
years.
go.
I don't remember a lot, but I do remember. I mean, I worked with TTL, 555 timers, a lot with operational amplifiers.
I mean, that was a day when you could go to Radio Shack and existed and buy a 555 timer or even a Z80.
Or a Z80, Z80 computer actually. The Z80 was that computer without a flat screen, but you could also buy quad operational amplifiers. You could do multi flip-flops. I mean, that's how I learned logic, was actually studying the gates, right? Because you'd have, what is it to arrange an AND gate? Then you have an OR gate. Then you have a NOR gate. And I mean, that's how I basically started learning about electronics, was that I like doing circuitry stuff. Yeah.
It was that helped me realize that true empiricism was talking shit.
Well, I mean, people can call me an idiot, all the times, but you know what? I think I've demonstrated in 8 years I'm not extremely inept.
Not. Oh God. People just...
My computer. Sorry, Manya.
Sorry. Nah, I will just keep on rambling. Don't worry about me.
So my first computer was a ZX81. So the Z80 chip.
My first computer was a ZX81.
I don't remember my first one was, but I had a TI 994A, I had a VIC-20, I had an 8082 multiprocessor with an 8086 coprocessors. I had, what else? I had a K-Pro. Remember K-Pro?
My first computer was an IBM 36030.
Oh, I know that.
That's a mainframe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those things like weigh 20 tons.
And the thing I wanted to do was to mount tapes. Right.
So do you know what all the little switches did on it? Because I think they just put those in for looks. They didn't. No, they didn't.
Yes.
They just. They didn't do anything. They just were cool looking.
Blinking lights.
Blinking lights. Right.
That's
Flashy
what
lights.
these kind of computers lack is blinking lights.
Yeah, how do you know that the channels are working? How do you know if that Kix region is attached?
I would Moon $5. Thank you.
I want to know
Thank you,
this
Moon.
stuff.
Moon gave a super
That's
chat.
when
Thank
RAM
you,
was like you core was
1
really
meg.
really core. Right.
Actually, you'll like Landon. You
Was a
will
mess on the
like
floor.
this. I'll do this quickly. You know, you had the old Winchester 5-stack platters. Yeah.
Yeah, the Winchester 20 meg drives. Yeah.
Yeah. Did
RLL
you ever
run
know,
long length.
like, yep. But did you know that they did like a video cassette size hard drive? For basically, it was around CPM for CPM multi-user systems.
CPM systems. Yeah, that was K-Pro used CPM.
I'm going back to the late 80s. Do you know what that drive was called? Because Winchester was the big boy. The little drive was called an Arapaho.
Oh, I didn't know that, but I remember the run. They had RLL and the MFM, right?
But the hard disk stuff, I didn't trust because I could tell from a tape where stuff was, but the discs seemed to be dodgy stuff.
Well,
and the drums you could tell because drum drives were you could, yeah.
Landon, I actually did work on a mini computer in a language called Focal at one time.
Oh yes, I know Focal.
Yeah, and so it was stored on a 3K punch tape.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I go way back as well. I also
so that was part of was that part of a gamma ray spectrometer?
No, it was actually my junior high school. I was in a computer programming class, and I was actually me and two of the people went to a computer contest, a workshop, programming thing.
Yeah.
And we got second place, and it was only because my other two people were idiots and they didn't know what the hell they were doing, or they should have won. Yeah, because I had a program everything. Because they would give you a program, they would say, okay, write the program for this and do it with the least amount of memory and the most simplicity, right? Optimization kind of thing. And I used to program back in the day. I had Visual Basic. I'd assembler.
I'm an absolute crap programmer. That's not the thing.
By the way,
I make stuff work and I keep it working. That's my story.
So the International Obfuscated C Code Contest,
which you own, which you're the president of or whatever,
for this year, I founded.
You founded it, yeah.
But it says closed. But we have to actually get together. But due to the coronavirus, it'll be delayed until we get together.
What language do you use for that?
Now.
What?
Vegan?
I was just gonna say I'm actually trying to learn SQL right now.
Oh,
so
well, it's not SQL that it uses. What language do you use, Landon?
Well, what languages I use? I mean, not right now.
Yeah,
Python.
Well, there's C and C++. There is assembly.
Mm-hmm.
I actually do have some Fortran. There's also
with punch cards.
CUDA. I talk about language I use now or language that I have used.
Languages you use now.
Now,
I guess, yeah.
Now.
It's a short.
Who uses
it's going to be a
Fortran?
shorter list, Steve.
I use Python. I don't have much respect for Python. I use.
We have a guest
Java.
here.
I don't have much respect for Java.
We have a guest in the chat. I think.
Oh.
Let me just see if I can tag them. Oh, beautiful.
Right,
hey.
English. There's a computer programming language called English, by the way.
You'll see, Steve. Just
Right.
Have a look in the chat.
Yeah, I'm right now trying to learn SQL and C++, and I'm actually trying to build my first video game.
Yeah,
I made video games.
I'll tell you what really
Sorry, I have to interfere. Sorry, but I'll warn this person not to pull that shit they pulled previously off.
Okay.
Please, we will respect your presence, but don't
Who
be
are you
there trying
talking
to do that.
about? What,
yeah, I'm amazed at
Rock a lot.
Yeah.
Uni, he's in the chat.
Please.
So as I say, if you want to get good in programming, learn to play a musical instrument.
When I was younger, I used to play 6 or 7 different ones.
Yeah.
Then you'll probably be a better programmer than I will ever be.
I'm trying to learn Java. Java.
With SQL, what really helped me, because I do use SQL, but what really helped me when I started off with SQL is actually building the tables manually.
Yeah,
and then looking at the titles and the columns and the cells and the values that you're looking to grab. And then when you're trying to, and then working out an inner and outer join processes, that's where it gets a bit fucked up with SQL. And once you get past that, then you cascade and it becomes really quite easy.
I'm working really hard. I'm not very, I have to write out a lot of it because I'm not very good at like just remembering things off the top of my head. So I always have to go back and double and triple and quadruple check.
So when you're doing your SQL scripts, write your scripts, save them, put notes about what you did and why you did it that way. And that way, then you can refer back to how you actually did it. And that's one of the things I like about SQL. It's a really easy one to notate.
I literally have notebooks where I'm like writing out every little thing, pointing out what each little thing is and each word and the reason. Like it's just like, my notebook.
Excellent advice. Carry along your little programmer's workbench of stuff and tricks, and when you figure out something, put it in that little bag of tricks you belong along, so you don't have to rederive everything.
I specialize in IT security, and I have to understand about 24 different vendors and most of their products to be able to articulate it to clients. And I have to keep everything in a separate box, and they all do similar stuff, but a lot of it does different stuff, and depending on what you want to do, and it kills my mind, which is why I like to do things like maths and history and philosophy, because it switches my mind from just retaining all this crap that I have to know, which is kind of useful and does pay the bills.
I like it because it's a little mix of analytical thinking and creative thinking and problem solving, and so I find it's really fun, but it can be very frustrating.
Yeah, I like the problems. See, that's what I liked about programming, the problem solving nature, right? Because if I had a program, I would sit there all day long and not even, I'd forget about eating even kind of thing until I resolved it, right? I'm like, why is this program not doing what it's supposed to do? And you're thinking to yourself, look, it's got to be the program, right? I mean, it's something in my code that's the problem, because you know what it's supposed to do and it's not doing it. So you have to go and you troubleshoot it, right? And I used to love sitting there troubleshooting. And even if it was more than that, even if it was something where, okay, it's not exactly doing what I want it to do, but how do I make it do what it's supposed to do? What do I have to add to it? And you fudge this, you fudge that, you have the subroutines. And I used to love programming like that.
And it is super satisfying when you do finally have that breakthrough.
Orgasmic.
Yes.
Yes.
So good.
And it's normally a comma.
Yeah. It's not a comma, yeah. How to place comma.
Right. Or a period.
I remember one of the first times I tried to make a video game, it was trying to make something like Space Invaders, and so your shirt is actually not Space Invaders, it's actually, I think it's Gallica kind of thing.
My shirt?
Yeah, the top part is from Gallica.
Galaga, yeah.
It looks like more of a Gallica kind of thing. Or is that a cat?
This is a cat. Yeah.
Okay, it looks like almost like Gallica.
It's
You know how Gallica had the spaceship and it come down and take your little ship.
Yeah.
But anyways, I had the bases and I had the things coming down, and I had a little thing that I learned how to move back and forth and shoot a laser out of it. And this was all in TI 994A language, right?
Oh.
I was like, this is cool. It was all sprites and character mapping. But,
I
remember programming a helicopter in C, if I'm not wrong. You know that helicopter dots moving together in helicopter shape, and then
yeah. Well, that's how you did it in the TI 994A. You had a character map, and so it was all bit mapping. Yeah.
See, I'm sad. The first thing that I ever wrote as a program was a library management. So it was basically something to record all my books.
I wrote something similar when I was working for Radio Shack. We had a similar thing called it's called Radio Shack Unlimited. And Radio Shack Unlimited was you would order the parts for the customer, right? Well, we didn't have a tracking system for it back in the day. So in Visual Basic, I actually wrote a tracking system in it, which is a database program that I had written prior, but I imported it over for Visual Basic. And you could write your information in, like the customer's name, the address, when it was arrived, when you ordered it, when it arrived, and it would keep track of all this stuff in a sequential database for you. We used that for quite some time.
That's what I did mine, and I did it in a database system called Sculpture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean they're very similar, I'm sure, but that's pretty cool when people do kind of stuff.
If you install it, boot it up. I say boot it up. That's kind of a misnomer in the good old DOS days. But launch it, and all you have is a blank screen with a blinking cursor at the top left hand corner. Then that's pretty. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. That's literally like I just started making it on Thursday. So
Oh, that's so
Well,
cute.
and by the way,
It's
Dress, you got to
only
be careful because some Linux systems
2
actually
days
start
first.
off with that cursor in the corner, and then it starts going into the next routine, right? So just because you have that
No,
cursor,
we're 20 years before Linux.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
When you
I know how to grip my bash.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And
Bash-
it's funny. It's
oh yeah, yeah.
funny. As I say, you mentioned because I was at a when
Bash
work
prompt
was actually people come together. And I had a manager ask me, so how do you know what kind of qualification you have in doing shell scripting? I did a little calculations. I said, I've been shell scripting twice as long as you've been alive.
And he's like, "You're arrogant. Get out of here."
And
I said,
actually,
"I'm sorry. I'm a couple of years short of a half century shell scripting, but
and
I'll
actually
get there."
now,
Lenny, you know what?
again, that's- with robotic process automation, shell scripts is actually becoming incredibly important again.
Absolutely.
Until they find out how to actually connect all the processes together.
Do you know what used to be cool, Landon?
Robotics is hard.
Landon, back in the day when you only had a certain amount of memory and resources and things like that.
Yeah.
And you first learned to make your first DOS drive, and you are like speed deeming. You're like, I'm running this motherfucker right out of DOS, right out of memory. Because I made a DOS.
Let's give you one more challenge. What was the command that you had to use to try and free up RAM to be able to run programs in DOS?
Well, you had
3.1 and onwards.
Well, let's see. You had your check disk, F disk, F format. You had let's see. So you wanted to free up. Let me think here.
I've got him.
Damn it. What does it start with?
MemMaker.
Yeah, MemMaker, because of MemMaker. Yeah, I remember MemMaker and MemMaker Pro. MemMaker would allow you to use extended memory. Remember, you only had 640. 640 conventional. And MemMaker was your DOS command. Yeah, I remember that.
Because it was DOS 3.1 that recognized more than 600.
Yeah, it wouldn't recognize anything past the extended memory. Yeah,
but I mean, my problem is why would I want to use a PC when I had things like Simmer Craze, cyber machines and Craze, right? I remember looking at
an Cray computer
and saying, why would anyone want to use that? I mean, yeah, because I had access to this.
Oh, okay. So you're like Bill Gates. Whoever's going to need more than 640K?
No, crazy. I said, how could you do anything with only 640K?
Yeah.
Right. It was up, but I still found it quite amazing what you could do with 640.
I don't think kids today recognize it.
And I have a lot of. I'm quite impressed with people who did a lot of amazing things with those small.
Yeah, because you had to optimize it every bit of memory, and 1 bit was considered to be 1 byte. I mean, you had to optimize. But do you recognize the fact that if this was 40, 50 years ago, Landon, that terabyte drive would be considered to be supernatural or like futuristic to the point of Star Wars?
Yes, I do remember. Yeah. I do remember seeing the first terabyte storage system, which was filled in a large room, attached to a tray. It was yes. So yes, actually.
Yeah. So I guess we're gonna migrate over to the shills. Yay! No. So they got about 2 minutes before they start, and of course they take 10 minutes to actually start. So
you got time to go pee.
I'm gonna head out.
Let's do another rum and coke sooner because of all the.
I will do that. I've been doing stuff on the Great Debate channel, just people coming in. We're talking about philosophical stuff. But like I said, I got a busy week. I've got Dr. Rasmussen coming in. I've got MJ Dory coming in. I've got Jeff Holiday coming in. And there's something else I had planned too, and I don't know what it was, but it's gonna be a real busy week for us.
We got to do some science stuff soon.
DEF CON 1, baby. Yeah.
Yes, please. Yes.
I'm being messaged right now, and so I'm going to be.
I can tell you about Betelgeuse, and I'll tell you about stuff.
Oh, don't disappoint me anymore with Betelgeuse, man. I was expecting.
Oh, what about polonium halos? Now I remember that discussion in depth.
Hey, I gotta admit, I did a pretty goddamn good job.
You did. It's great. I have some young Earth creationists now saying, "But lightning strike." Are you talking about Z pinches?
Yeah, Z pinch.
Is that where you're going?
Z pinch. Yeah, it's so funny because actually that video is still talked about. I am in touch with Dr. Henke and Dr. Lachelle, and Dr. Lachelle just did a paper on helium diffusion rates in zircon to try to show Dr. Humphreys where he got wrong. He got published. It took him a couple tries. He finally got published in a reputable journal. And do you know who he addressed? You know who he acknowledged in the credits?
You?
Yes. Yes. So that's the second time in a peer review paper that I've been mentioned. And so
Actually, I will share something.
Keeping a tally.
Really, this kind of says that I really need to get more of a life, because this is not my main account. This is my second account, which I tend to use to sign up for all the things I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And all it is in there is...
Well, I don't want to see your email, man. That's all academic EU. Yeah, I get those too. Yeah, but there's never me, right? It's like they mentioned you. If actually, there's only once. If you go to what is it, Google Scholar, right? If you go to Google Scholar and you type in my name, it comes up with me in one paper, and that was a paper that Dr. Humphreys wrote, and he mentioned me, and the editor mentioned my name as well. But I don't think Dr. Self's paper has been released yet publicly, so that's why you won't find mine. But like I said, I have been mentioned in 2 peer-reviewed papers, and I appreciate that because I spent 8 hours with Dr. Lachelle and Dr. Hinke talking about diffusion rates, and it was fascinating. It was just, and obviously I'm nowhere in to understand what they know, but they thanked me for rekindling it with them. Right? He thanked me for making it an issue again and talking about it and getting Dr. Humphreys to talk about it. Because by the way, Landon, that math that I gave you, and I told you that remember I said that there's no way that this model, that this formula that he gives is representative of the other one because one's linear and the other's a curve. Humphreys admitted he got it wrong. He's like, yeah, that is a bad. He's like, I shouldn't have used that representation because that doesn't represent. But he did it privately, so I can't prove it to you yet. But he did admit that he got it wrong.
Because Steve and I were trying to figure out what error could give you that, mathematical error or thought error could give you that result. That was
because he was trying to model. What he was trying to go for was he had a high diffusion and low diffusion rate, and it was supposed to be a 2-value curve. And he came up with that other formula that I showed you, and I'm like, that's a line though. That's not even representative of this. One's a curve, one's a line. There's no possible way that this is even a close approximation. And he finally agreed that it was probably not the best way to describe it, and so. He's working on it. We are working on it. We got a younger creationist to admit something. But anyways, I got to go, guys.
Wow.
So here, I'm going to give you guys a link for the shills. Go over. Let's hang out with Dick Dawson. Let's get some dick, man. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. So
It's great seeing everybody.
All right. I'm going to put
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Landon. Thank you all for support. Might finish $35 since Beetlejuice. Has somebody accepted pronunciations? I call it Beetlecheese.
By the way, Beetlegeese is brightening.
No, Beetlegeese. He calls it Beetlegeese. Battle Geese.
In fact, you can visually see it that's brighter than it was.
Beetlegeist, if you're going to say it like that.
I just say Beetlejuice. All right. Thank you, Bonnie. I love you. Like I said, let's all get some dick. Sound good?
Alrighty.
Alrighty.
Like it.
See you over the shills.